Alan Dawkins here with Dawkins Financial. There's a brief concept that I'd like to discuss. It can be relatively straightforward, but I've seen mistakes be made in the past. And it's important, regardless of if you work with me, work with another advisor, or simply on your own accounts, on your own accord. I'd like to discuss beneficiary designations. Simply put, the goal would be is that on any account that you own, you have designated a beneficiary. That may be with bank accounts, that may be with your IRAs, a 401k through your employer. Any account, it's best to have a named beneficiary. And typically, the way I see the beneficiary designations established, and it doesn't have to be this way, is that if someone is married, it may be that the surviving spouse is the primary beneficiary, simply meaning that if something happens to the account holder, they pass, then those assets would go to their surviving spouse. Then also the most important thing that I see in many circumstances is that there is not a contingent beneficiary, simply meaning that if the account holder and the primary beneficiary, and in this example, that would be the surviving spouse, if they both were to pass, let's say in a vehicle or on a trip, things like that, then we need to have a contingent beneficiary that would say if something happens to both the account owner, the primary beneficiary, well, then they're contingent beneficiaries. And if there's a family with two spouses and children, typically children may be contingent beneficiaries. There are pros and cons to that, and that's something to discuss with me as well as potentially an estate planning attorney about who should be your beneficiary, but it's a discussion that's important. But then to take it to another step is that you can have beneficiaries that are designated per capita or per stirpes. So the way that works is that imagine if you have account holder and primary beneficiary, they both pass. Then those assets would go to the contingent beneficiaries. If you had 4 children, then 25% in this example would go to each child. But let's say they're adult children and they have their own kids. If the assets are distributed per capita, then it would go equally per child, so 25% each. But if something happened to both of those adult children, then all of the money would be split by the surviving 2 children. So that's per capita. However, that may not be the goal of the account holder. Maybe their thought is that the children would receive it equally, and if one of the children predeceased them, that their kids would receive. So that would be per stirpes. So what would happen is 2 surviving children receive 25% each. Then deceased child, the first deceased child, then 25% of those total assets would distribute to their heirs. And likewise, the second adult child that was a beneficiary but had passed, 25% would pass to their heirs. So that it would, in essence, go to the grandchildren. So there are nuances such as this that are very important in making sure that your wishes are met as an account holder. So oftentimes, names are just written as beneficiary very quickly, but not a lot of thought has been given to it. Another factor is, are beneficiaries going to receive the same types of assets? So if one child is going to receive life insurance proceeds, but another child receives, let's say, a 401k or IRA proceeds, those have different tax ramifications. So it may be the equal amount of dollars distributed to each, but post-tax, those may be very different dollars. So having a discussion about how those assets should pass, as well as the tax ramifications, matter when you are looking to leave assets to your beneficiaries. If you have any questions, please reach out and we can discuss how this pertains to you. Thank you.